The moment I was reborn, I plunged both my hands into sulfuric acid, destroying the fingerprints on all 10 of my fingers. In my past life, my adopted younger brother committed murder. He then left my fingerprints at the scene, turning me into his scapegoat. Not only did my parents refuse to seek justice for me, but they also fabricated evidence for him. They spearheaded the cyberbullying against me online, calling me a murderer. On the day of my execution, they took my adopted brother to an island to celebrate his survival after the ordeal. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn exactly 1 hour before my adopted brother committed the murder. This time, I'll make sure they have no fake evidence left to fabricate. I stood in the middle of the most crowded square in the world. Amidst countless stares of shock and mockery, I stripped off my clothes, piece by piece. In the freezing winter, I danced almost completely naked. Countless cameras were pointed at me. A live stream room broke 1 million viewers just because of me. Hey guys, make sure to hit that follow button. After this dance, I'll perform a hand-washing show with sulfuric acid for everyone. Hearing that, the comments in the live stream flew by even faster. Is this guy out of his mind? Clout chasing should have its limits. When I finished dancing to the last song, the security guards maintaining order finally strolled over to shoo me away. Get out of here. If you don't leave, I'm taking you to the police station. I smiled and slapped my ID card against one of them. My name is Jo Yunxian. My father is Zhou Zhenyue of the Zhou Group. My mother is the ballet dancer Qin Nian Shuang. My younger brother is Zhou Shuqi, the heartthrob of Jingdu University. Go ahead and call the cops. Feel free to contact them. With that said, I picked up the bottle of sulfuric acid I had prepared at my feet. Seeing me open the acid bottle, the security guard was so terrified he couldn't even speak. What are you trying to do? Intentional self-harm will land you in jail. I didn't care. I poured the sulfuric acid straight out and pressed both my hands into it. My flesh and skin were corroded by the strong acid. A smell like roasting meat spread through the air. The pain made me break out in a cold sweat. I was almost exhausted, but the feeling of vindication in my heart helped me force myself to stand up. The crowd had backed away dozens of meters. I walked up to the closest person who was live streaming and held my bloody, mangled hands up to the camera. I gritted my teeth and said, "Take a good look, everyone. After 5:30 p.m. on January 2nd, I, Zhou Yunxian, will no longer have fingerprints in my past life just 1 hour later." My so-called younger brother, Zhou Shuqi, would corner a male student on the rooftop and push him off with his own hands. He had prepared a pair of gloves engraved with my fingerprints and destroyed all the nearby surveillance cameras. Meanwhile, my parents created an alibi for him. At the same time, they forged evidence of me committing the murder. They colluded to turn me into the fall guy. But now, I've caused a scene in front of the whole world and completely destroyed my own hands. I recalled Zhou Shuqi's hypocritical words when he visited me in my past life. Bro, I had no other choice. Who told mom and dad to love me so much? If I went to prison, mom and dad would be so heartbroken. Therefore, you'll just have to take the fall. So, to fulfill my dear brother's wish for a family reunion, I'll just have to personally send their whole family to prison. I quietly put on some gloves and accepted the routine police interrogation in the duty room. A tremendous force grabbed my hair, yanking me to the ground. Immediately after, 2 crisp slaps landed hard on my face. You useless piece of trash! The internet is full of news about you right now. You've completely ruined the Zhou family's reputation. Standing before me, surprisingly, were my biological parents. Seeing my lack of reaction, Zhou Zhenyue grew even more furious. She grabbed me by the throat and fiercely interrogated me. It's one thing to humiliate yourself. Why did you have to drag your brother's name into your live stream? Qin Nian Shuang's eyes welled up with tears. The way she looked at me was full of disappointment. Why did I ever give birth to someone like you? If Zhou Shuqi suffers even the slightest grievance because of you, I will immediately sever our mother-son relationship without any warning. 2 streams of hot tears rolled down my cheeks. My heart, which should have given up on this couple long ago, still felt like it was being sliced by a knife at this moment. Before I was 5, I was still the precious young master of the family, but ever since Zhou Shuqi was adopted, Zhou Zhenyue and his wife's hearts never leaned toward me for a single day. When I was little, just because I fought with him over a toy, Zhou Zhenyue had me hung up and brutally beaten, then locked me in the pitch-black basement. If it weren't for the kind butler secretly bringing me food every night, I probably would have died in that damp basement a long time ago. Since then, the first half of my life was spent living in Joe Shuchi's shadow. If I did anything to displease him even slightly, at best, I'd face physical abuse. At worst, I'd be starved until I ended up in the ICU. It wasn't until the college entrance exam scores came out. I got accepted into Jingdai University, while Joe Shuchi only scored enough for an ordinary college. Just when I thought I could finally escape, Zhou Zhenyue used his connections to swap our scores. Zhou Shuchi's celebratory banquet lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, with the whole city invited. Meanwhile, my living expenses were cut off, forcing me to start working day and night just to make ends meet. Suddenly, a crisp phone ringtone pulled me out of my memories. Qin Nianchuang's phone screen showed an incoming call from Zhou Shuchi. She instantly dropped the bitter, harsh attitude she had when facing me. She answered the phone, blooming with a smile. "My sweet boy, what's wrong?" I didn't know what the other end of the line said, but Qin Nianchuang's expression didn't look too good. Her eyes locked onto me. She handed the phone to Zhou Zhenyue, then approached me herself, forcing out what she thought was a gentle smile. "Yungxin, Mom and Dad were wrong just now. How about Mom makes it up to you? I've booked an Ocean View hotel. Didn't you say it's been a long time since we had a meal together? It's finally here, huh?" In my past life, desperate for familial love, I got into their car without hesitation and went to the Ocean View Hotel. As a result, the car stopped in front of the building where that male student had fallen. There awaited the grand gift, the scapegoat trap that Zhou Shuchi had meticulously prepared for me. This time, facing her invitation, I spat a mouthful of fresh blood right onto her exquisitely made-up face. "I'm not going. I still have to keep dancing later." Qin Nianchuang let out a shriek and shot up, about to scold me, but then thought of something. She tried her best to hold it in. "Yungxian, stop acting like a child. Mom and Dad have already apologized to you, haven't we?" She said this while tugging at Zhou Zhenyue's sleeve, signaling him to say something too. I spat another mouthful of blood into Zhou Zhenyue's face, then smiled at him. I said, "I'm not going." Zhou Zhenyue kicked me in the chest with all his might, sending me flying several meters away. My back slammed hard against the marble pillar of the police station. It felt like my spine was about to snap in half. "You ungrateful brat! Men! Tie him up and throw him in the car!" Zhou Zhenyue angrily wiped the blood off his face and called over 2 bodyguards in black. The police officers tried to stop them, but were threatened by Zhou Zhenyue. "I have connections with your superiors." The 2 bodyguards roughly twisted my arms behind my back, grabbed my hair, and prepared to shove me into the car, into the trunk. This ignorant fool doesn't deserve to sit in the back seat. That horrifying memory instantly flooded my mind. I started struggling violently. 3 years ago, Zhou Zhenyue and Qin Nianchuang took Zhou Shuchi on a road trip. I desperately clung to them and was only allowed to tag along by squeezing into the trunk. But throughout the entire trip, they seemed to have forgotten about me, locking me in the trunk for 3 whole days. My survival instinct drove me to smash the trunk open to escape, but Zhou Shuchi claimed I ruined his car. He even instigated our parents to abandon me on the highway. Even now, there's still an unfaded scar on the sole of my foot. "Let me go. I don't want to go in the trunk." No matter how violently I struggled, the men in black still followed Zhou Zhenyue's orders, dislocating both of my arms. "Mom doesn't want to treat you like this either." Qin Nianchuang hypocritically shed a few tears, then decisively slammed the trunk shut. After being plunged into pitch blackness, fear wrapped tightly around me like a tidal wave, like creeping vines. I started panting heavily, my whole body trembling uncontrollably. I absolutely cannot fail here. If my emotions become unstable, Zhou Shuchi will definitely use it against me. I gritted my teeth and bit down hard on the tip of my tongue. The sweet, metallic taste of blood spread in my mouth. I don't know how much time passed before the trunk was finally opened. A blinding light pierced my eyes. Zhou Shuchi stood there with his arms crossed, looking down at me from above. "How did you let yourself end up like this, big bro?" I was roughly thrown to the ground by the bodyguards. He stepped on my hand, slowly grinding the toe of his shoe into it. "If you weren't still of some use to me right now, I wouldn't even spare a glance at trash like you. Pop his arms back in, and also change him into these clothes." As soon as he gave the order, the bodyguards tore off my clothes, despite my furious screams. They still forced me into the clothes Zhou Shuchi wore when he committed the crime. Zhou Shuchi kicked me in the stomach. "Do your job obediently for me. It's your honor." He grabbed me by the collar, dragging me up the stairs like a plow. For 2 whole floors, my legs were covered in bruises from the impact. Alright, just stay here like a good boy. On the rooftop, I sat in the exact spot where Joe Shusi had pushed his classmate, Hee-jong, off. He smoothed back his meticulously styled hair and laughed arrogantly. These lowly peasants are such a pain. Even in death, he causes me trouble. If I didn't have you as my scapegoat, it really would be quite a hassle. I looked up at him, a hidden storm surging in my eyes. Joe Shusi, you're going to regret this. He gave me a dismissive shove, grabbing my hair with one hand and slammed my head against the stone floor. With his other hand, he dialed 911. The moment the call connected, his voice noticeably choked up. Hello, is this the police? Help, my brother just killed someone. At the police station. I was handcuffed, sitting on a bench in the lobby with my hair disheveled. 10 minutes ago, I had just been escorted out of the police car. A middle-aged man lunged at me. Why did you hurt my son? What did he ever do to you? How could you be so vicious? Hee-jong's mother, her eyes bloodshot, screamed until her voice went hoarse. The people around me looked like they wanted to tear me limb from limb. They wanted to eat me alive. Massive fists were ready to swing at my face. I want you to pay in blood. From beginning to end, Zhou Shuki and his parents stood by, watching coldly. They didn't forget to add fuel to the fire with their side comments. Yunxian has been like this since he was little. No matter what we say, he never listens. Look, just now, he pinched his brother's arm until it bruised. Qin Nianshuang pulled up Zhou Shuqi's sleeve, revealing a coin-sized bruise. It stood out on his fair skin. Just a tiny injury like that. Yet I have countless wounds all over my body. I roared. You're lying. It was clearly Zhou Shuqi who pushed that kid off. I'm just your scapegoat. Yet Zhou Shuqi acted as if he had suffered the ultimate grievance. How could you say that about me? Mom, Dad, and I saw you kill him with our own eyes. The matter was as clear as day. Now, no one would listen to my explanation. They only saw me as a ruthless murderer. Isn't this that shirtless hot guy? How did he turn into a murderer? I told you he was a psycho. A woman recognized me. She sneakily pulled out her phone and pointed it at me. The number of livestream viewers instantly surpassed 1 million. The comments, dense as ants, were all cursing at me. Everyone had go check the trending searches. The Zhou group just released a statement. They said they're cutting all ties with Zhou Yunxian. Oh my god. People who were bullied by Zhou Yunxian are all exposing him now. And there's more. There's more. His parents personally admitted that he pushed Hee-jong off the roof. They said they saw it with their own eyes. A murderer like him deserves to die. Netizens exploded, demanding Zhou Yunxian's death. They quickly dug up my past, posting it online and cursing me relentlessly. Some people even traveled all the way here just to throw rotten eggs and spit on me. The exact same scenes from my past life were replaying one by one. Could it be? Can I really not change this doomed fate? No way. I absolutely will not let myself fall into eternal damnation again. My fingertips pressed hard into my somewhat festering palms. This is my final trump card. I want to see the police. In the interrogation room, large lights shone directly on me. 2 police officers sat across from me. Are you planning to confess? I'm not the killer. One of them, Officer Zhang, looked straight at me. Right now, all the evidence points to you. If you show a sincere attitude and confess, there's still a chance for a reduced sentence. The key evidence the police are holding is it the fingerprints on Hee-jong's back? And you still say you're not the killer? This is internal evidence. How did you know about it? The young officer sitting next to Officer Zhang instantly became restless. He shot up and interrogated me. I ignored his provocation, just lowered my head and slowly took off my gloves. However, Officer Zhang, my fingerprints completely disappeared an hour ago. How could someone like me be the killer? Upon seeing my completely festered palms, Officer Zhang slammed the table and stood up. What? The glaring lights in the interrogation room shone on my bloody, mangled hands, making the sight even more horrifying. The young officer gasped, subconsciously taking half a step back. Even the seasoned Officer Zhang's pupils suddenly contracted. His expression became extremely grave. What is the meaning of this? Where did the injuries on your hands come from? When did this happen? This afternoon at 5:30 p.m. at the Central Square. I personally used sulfuric acid to destroy my fingerprints. Millions of viewers online are my witnesses. You can immediately pull up the live stream recording and the videos taken by the people at the scene. The corrosive sulfuric acid completely destroyed the dermis layer of my skin. My fingerprints can never be restored. Logically, the key evidence pointing to me is now invalid. It's completely shattered. The interrogation room fell into dead silence. The two officers looked at each other in shock, both able to see the massive waves surging in each other's eyes. This discovery was enough to completely overturn the direction of the case. Hurry immediately verify and cross-reference the exact timeline of the Central Square livestream with the timeline of the crime. Notify the forensics department to re-evaluate the fingerprint evidence. Officer Zhang suddenly stood up, barking orders at the young officer with lightning speed. Then he sat back down, looking at me with a complex gaze. Zhou Yongqian, if what you're saying is true, then that means my biological parents and my sweet younger brother committed perjury. The real murderer is hiding among them. Right at this moment, there was a knock on the interrogation room door. Another officer poked his head in. It's strange. Captain Zhang, Zhou Zhenyue, Qin Nian Shuang, and Zhou Shuzi are still outside. They're highly agitated. They're insisting that we convict him immediately. They even said they want to represent the victim's family in demanding severe punishment. Perfect timing. Invite them to different interrogation rooms to rest. Without my permission, no one is allowed to leave. After saying that, he turned to me, his tone softening a bit, but still carrying a hint of scrutiny. Zhou Yongqian, the things you've said, we will investigate immediately. But until the truth is revealed, you are still a prime suspect. You need to cooperate with our investigation. Officer, I request that my entire medical condition be recorded and treated. Officer Zhang agreed very decisively. Meanwhile, the three members of the Zhou family were taken into 3 different rooms. Officer, the truth is clear as day. The evidence is solid. That unfilial son has already confessed. Why drag this out any longer? He's completely ruined the Zhou family's reputation. It's our fault for not disciplining him properly, allowing him to do something so heartless. We will definitely do our utmost to compensate the victim. Officer, my brother, is he okay? Is he emotionally unstable? Is he spouting a bunch of nonsense? Officers, please don't believe him. He's definitely just trying to stall for time to get away with it. The case is still under further investigation. We ask for your patience. Please cooperate with the investigation. However, every officer they spoke to gave them the same standardized reply. Time ticked by second. Even Qin Niang Shuang, who was usually slow on the uptake, could feel that something was wrong. Officer, what is the meaning of this? We're witnesses, not suspects. You have no right to detain us. Please be patient. But the officer on guard just repeated the same line. Please be patient. The police worked with incredible efficiency. The video was recorded during a live stream in the Central Plaza. Countless screen recordings from netizens and statements from eyewitnesses were quickly compiled. A precise timestamp was extracted. The moment I poured the sulfuric acid was 5:30 p.m. The medical examiner's preliminary report placed Hejia's time of death at 8:30 p.m. At the same time, a preliminary forensic examination of my hands confirmed they had recently suffered severe chemical burns. The skin tissue was severely damaged. It would have been absolutely impossible to leave any valid fingerprints after sustaining such an injury. And yet, the forensics team conducted a secondary analysis of my fingerprint recovered from the scene. The results came back quickly. The fingerprint had unusually clear and continuous ridges. It lacked the normal variations in pressure and the natural distortion of skin. The evidence at the scene was consistent with the characteristics of a print created by copying it through a thin film. Your Honor, all the pieces of evidence began to reveal a shocking conspiracy. Officer Zhang stared at the preliminary summary report. His face grew grim. He'd been on the force for years and had witnessed countless crimes. But a scheme this cruel, exploiting familial bonds, a frame-up this meticulously planned to incriminate one's own son and brother, it still sent a chill down his spine. He gave a decisive order. Focus the interrogation on Chu Shuti. Get a search warrant. Search the Chu family home and Chu Shuti's personal belongings. Look for any materials and tools that could be used to create a fingerprint mold. The person in the interrogation room was now Chu Shuti. Faced with the police's suddenly intense and oppressive questioning, along with the irrefutable evidence presented one piece at a time, his psychological defenses began to crumble. He had never imagined that the frame-up he thought was flawless could ever be exposed. He certainly never expected that I would have already destroyed my own fingerprints, rendering all his efforts completely useless. I don't know what you're talking about. That fingerprint belongs to Chu Yunxian. My parents both saw it. Chu Shuqi. Chu Yunxian's fingerprints were permanently destroyed before the crime even occurred. The fingerprint left at the scene was copied from a mold. Are you still not going to tell the truth? Falsifying fingerprints to frame someone, that's a felony. Add to that a charge of intentional homicide. Do you have any idea what the consequences are? I didn't kill anyone. I didn't push him. He lost his balance and fell on his own. The moment the words left his mouth, he immediately realized his slip-up. His face went as white as a sheet. Didn't you say you saw Chu Yunxian push him with your own eyes? So how did it suddenly become he fell on his own? When the incident occurred, were you at the scene or not? What happened between you and the deceased? Under extreme pressure and fear, Chu Shuqi's mind completely shattered. He became a blubbering mess and began to confess incoherently. Jia and I got into an argument. He was cursing at me. I got angry and gave him a push. I really didn't mean to kill him. I don't know why he fell. And the fingerprint was prepared in advance. My mom helped me make it. She said if anything happened, we could just let Chu Yunxian take the blame. After all, he's a good student. That bookworm is bound to have a future. If my life was ruined, all of my parents' efforts would be wasted. Yes, my parents knew everything. They were the ones who taught me to do this, they said. As long as I insisted it was Chu Yunxian, it would be fine. They would be my witnesses. Yes. Go arrest them. They taught me everything. I'm innocent. You can't arrest me. The recorder captured every single word clearly. The officers outside the door heard it and looked at each other in stunned silence, feeling both disgusted and outraged. At the same time, the search of the Chu residence yielded a major discovery. The tools Chu Shuqi used to forge the fingerprint, which he hadn't had time to dispose of. The chat history between Qin Niangshuang and Zhou Zhenyue, planning to frame me, and even the smear articles that Zhou Zhenyue had directed his company to publish. When all of this was laid out in front of Zhou Zhenyue and Qin Niangshuang, their reactions were strangely identical. First, they denied everything, then they blamed each other. Finally, faced with irrefutable evidence and the police's intense psychological pressure, they both collapsed. I had no idea about any of this. I was just blinded by my love for my son. He tricked me. Shuqi lost his birth parents when he was so young, the poor thing. Chu Yunxian already has everything, so what's wrong with him giving a little to his brother? Who knew something like this would happen? How could I just stand by and watch? As Shuqi's life was ruined, every excuse they made painted an incredibly ugly picture on camera. Meanwhile, a massive storm was brewing online. At first, the entire internet was cursing me out, but as time went on, some of the audience members from the scene posted the full video of me washing my hands with sulfuric acid, complete with a precise timestamp. It quickly went viral. More and more netizens began to question the timeline. He destroyed his fingerprints first, and the crime happened later. That injury is so severe. There's no way he could have left a fingerprint. This is terrifying to think about. Could he have been taking the fall for someone? The Chu family's reaction was way too fast, don't you think? Is this how you treat your own biological son? Looks more like an enemy to me. And what about that adopted son? Chu Shuqi goes to Capital University. There were videos of him bullying people on the school forum before, but they all got taken down by the power of money. The tide of public opinion began to quietly turn when inside information from the police was leaked, especially the clip of Chu Shuqi's confession and his parents blaming each other, which someone posted online. The entire social media landscape was completely shaken. Hey, Chu Yunxian is innocent and Chu Shuqi is the murderer. Hi, net toxic parents. I fingerprint fraud exposed. These keywords instantly shot to the top of the trending lists. The netizens who had been cursing me the loudest now felt they had been used. Their anger was redirected, magnified tenfold, crashing down like a tsunami on the Zhou Corporation and the Chu family. A whole family of animals. How dare you treat your own son like that, Chu? Shuqi, get out here and pay with your life. Zhou Corporation, a heartless enterprise, go bankrupt. Apologized to Chu Yunxian. As soon as the market opened, the Zhou Corporation's stock plummeted. Partners began canceling their contracts one after another. The double blow from public opinion and the economy brought the corporation to the brink of collapse in an instant. As I was carefully escorted out of the interrogation room, about to be taken to the hospital to treat my hands, I happened to be in the lobby of the police station when I ran into Zhou Zhenyue, Qin Niangshuang, and Chu Shuqi being escorted out separately. You demon, you're a demon. You set me up. You won't die a peaceful death. The only one who's about to die is you. Yu Xian, please, save your brother. He lost his parents when he was just a child. His life has been hard enough, and now he has to go to jail, go beg that girl Li Jio's parents. Get on your knees, kowtow to them. Even if they tell you to go die, you have to do it. Please, save Shuqi. Oh, my compassionate mother. Do you really enjoy raising your husband's mistress's child that much? Chu Shuchi is the son of Zhou Zhenyue and that whore he keeps on the side. Ha! Shuchi is not my illegitimate son. Don't you listen to this little bastard's nonsense. That's right, I am Dad's illegitimate son. You truly are a stupid woman, to think you'd go to such lengths to target your own biological son. Qin Nianshuang let out a blood-curdling scream and lunged forward, brawling with Zhou Zhenyue. She even managed to grab Chu Shuchi by the hair and slam his head against the floor. After they were done fighting, I leaned in and whispered to the three of them, "Do you know why I destroyed my fingerprints beforehand? Because I am a demon, reborn with the hatred of 2 lifetimes. I came back specifically to claim your 3 pathetic lives." Zhou Zhenyue snapped his head up, his eyes wide with absolute terror as he stared at me, as if he were truly seeing his son for the very first time. As for Qin Nianshuang, it was as if all the strength had been drained from her body. She collapsed onto the floor, wailing in despair. Chu Shuchi was still screaming and cursing like a madman. I didn't spare them another glance. Step by step, I walked steadily out of the police station gates. Outside, a massive crowd of reporters, having heard the news, had gathered. The camera flashes were as bright as day. But this time, the lenses were no longer pointed at a murderer or a madman. They were aimed at a victim who had been framed, one who had used the most drastic of measures to clear his own name. The morning sun broke through the clouds, shining down on my face, which was pale but serene. My revenge has only just begun. The law will judge their crimes, and the judgment of public opinion and fate will most certainly not be absent. Chu Shuchi, for the crime of intentional injury, fabricating and using false evidence and false accusation, received a heavy prison sentence with his multiple charges combined. Zhou Zhenyue and Qin Nianshuang, for the crime of perjury and obstruction of justice, aiding in the destruction and falsification of evidence and false accusation, were also sent to prison. Furthermore, Zhou Zhenyue also had to face charges of commercial fraud, market manipulation, and various other accusations. The Zhou family's corporation declared bankruptcy, becoming a thing of the past. My methods were extreme, but because there were extenuating circumstances, and because I caused no serious harm to the public. With the sympathy of public opinion on my side, I received a lenient sentence. It was nothing compared to the crimes of those 3. With my own 2 hands, I had danced a frenzied waltz and completely torn apart the web they had so meticulously woven. I welcomed a new life that belonged only to me. In my past life, they were smug and triumphant. In this life, they will rot in prison. I suppose you could say what goes around comes around. It's karma. Perfectly balanced. I will live a brilliant life. A bright one. I will never be shrouded in darkness again.